Levi Elma Sands. The evening of December 22, 1799. Levi Weeks was an American carpenter, known for being the accused in the infamous Manhattan Well murder trial of 1800, the first murder trial in the United States for which there is a recorded transcript. He was the brother of Ezra Weeks, one of New York City's most successful builders of the time. December 22, 1799. Between the walls of a small room in a Manhattan boarding house, Levi Elma Sands, the 22-year-old woman, revealed her secret to her cousin Catherine Sands. She was in love with Levi Weeks, the local carpenter, and the two were planning to get married that same night, December 22, 1799, under the bright stars of New York City. She was excited, happy to finally become the wife of the man she had loved for some time. Later that evening, she left her boarding house to meet the man she dreamed of spending the rest of her life with. But the life she had imagined was cut short in a tragic way. The discovery of the body and the investigation. Crime. A few days after her disappearance, on January 2, 1800, a young boy found the muff she had been wearing in the Manhattan well. Driven by curiosity, he took a quick peek inside only to be shocked by the view of Elma's dead body lying at the bottom. And, adding to the tragedy, her cold body had remained inside that well for a whole week before she was extracted. While there was speculation at the time that she may have been pregnant, this was later disproved by medical evidence. It was quickly determined that Elma had been either strangled or savagely beaten before she was thrown into the well. It is not known whether she was still alive at the time she was dropped there. It is possible that she survived the fall and then bled to death at the bottom of the well. It is also possible that she was killed somewhere else and then dumped into the well later. Investigation. Suspected Levi as she was planning to see him the night of her disappearance. Not only that, Elma and Levi both lived in a boarding house owned by Elias Ring, and it was common gossip within the boarding house that Levi and Elma were in love and that they'd soon be married. And so, after Elma disappeared, Levi was arrested for her murder. The newspapers were quick to convict Levi for the murder, igniting a flame in the public and urging the authorities to punish him for the heinous crime. However, one article written by Aaron Burr urged the public to delay judgment until Elma was found. Aaron suggested that Elma might have committed suicide. The man would later serve as an attorney for Levi Weeks during his trial. But his efforts were quickly destroyed by Elias Ring, the boarding house owner, who displayed her gray, bloated corpse in front of the boarding house in an open coffin, to incite public fury against Levi Weeks. And the public successfully ate the bait, and mass outrage against Levi occurred. Yet Levi himself was not that vulnerable, as he was the brother of Ezra Weeks, who was considered to be among the nation's most sought-after architects. Ezra was able to secure two of the nation's preeminent lawyers at the time, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, who, in a strange twist, owned the well in which Elma was found. Burr was the owner of the Manhattan Company, which oversaw the well construction project. It was rumored that both men owed Ezra a lot of money, and they took the case as a way of paying him back. Ezra promised Hamilton and Burr that if Levi was acquitted, all their debts would be cancelled. The trial. Levi Weeks began on March 31, 1800. The prosecution brought in a number of doctors to testify that the death could not have been a suicide, but it was more of a circus than a serious testimony. None of these doctors had actually been present during the autopsy of Elma Sands, and only saw her body while it was on display in front of Elias Ring's boarding house. Even worse, one of them was actually a dentist who told the jury that he was a surgeon. The defense was more serious and argued that Elma had not been murdered at all, but in fact had committed suicide by jumping into the well. They also said that if she had been murdered, the murder was committed by Richard Croucher, a man who also lived in Elias Ring's boarding house, along with Levi and Elma. Theories. Hamilton and Burr knew that there would be jurors who would refuse to accept Elma's death as a suicide, and so they sought to give the jury as many alternative suspects as possible. They went so far as to accuse Elias Ring himself of having a romantic relationship with Elma, insinuating that he might have killed her. But their main focus was on Richard Croucher. Hamilton and Burr managed to extract several confessions from Croucher, who admitted that there was an incident involving him saying some hurtful words to Elma, and that Levi later confronted Croucher on Elma's behalf. Thus, Croucher had reason to be resentful of both Levi and Elma. Another point the defense was able to get at Croucher was that he was spreading rumors about Levi Weeks killing Elma less than 24 hours after her initial disappearance. He was going into random stores and taverns, yelling that Levi Weeks had killed Elma, and then leaving without buying anything. The defense was able to bring in over a dozen different people to testify and confirm that Croucher actually did that. The final nail in Croucher's coffin was the person who testified that Richard was seen near the Manhattan well around the time that Elma was likely murdered. After 2 days of trial, Levi Weeks was proven innocent in the eyes of the law but not in the eyes of the people, who were not convinced by the verdict. He moved to Natchez, Mississippi, where he got married, had 4 kids, and died at the age of 43. Although Levi Weeks was proven innocent, we never heard his side of the story during the trial. Where was he the night Elma disappeared? Why didn't he inform the authorities if he was supposed to meet her but she never showed up? Weeks maybe killed Elma without pulling the trigger by not showing up that night, which broke her and maybe drove her to kill herself. Croucher is another interesting character. He acted guilty the whole time, spreading rumors and turning attention away from himself. The court never managed to prove his involvement in the crime, but his actions were very questionable and required further investigation, especially when we know that he was later convicted of strangling a woman and got executed for it. Was Elma's murder truly a mystery, or was it simply a case of negligence by the authorities? All fingers pointed to Croucher as the main suspect, yet his role in the trial was secondary at best. Levi, for his part, remains an enigma. Was he infatuated with Elma the way she was with him, or was she merely a fleeting affair to him? In the end, Elma's case remains legally unresolved despite the many speculations surrounding it. The haunted local lore claims that Elma Sands still haunts the site of her death, with reports of screams and sightings of a wet woman in the Spring Street area.